LAT, and lawyer historian Terence Chua. Just a quick note, at the end of today's session, we will be giving away a signed copy of one of LAT's books. If you haven't submitted your names to our intern over there, Alice, please do so now, and we will announce the winner at the end of the session. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello everybody, welcome. Well, I'm here basically to sit back and stay out of the way of this man, because he's got a lifetime of stories to tell, and I'm going to let him do it. Of course, and the man needs absolutely no introduction. He's the Datuk LAT. Okay. My name is Terence Chua, and like I said, I'm just going to leave it up to him to guide the conversation. He will be talking for about an hour, and at the end of which we'll have about 30 minutes for questions and answers. Okay. So without further ado, it's the LAT.
Thank you. Thank you, Dennis. It's nice to see you again. We were together a couple of years ago at a gathering for comic lovers.
Yeah, that's right. It was a Singapore Writers Festival in 2007.
Yeah, I never knew Singapore would invite me again after that because of my lack of knowledge in superhero comics.
No, we were fascinated. I mean, what you were talking about was completely off topic from what we were supposed to talk about, but we didn't care.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be here with you all, and I want to share with you, my experience. And in case some of you who don't know my work will probably see some of my drawings tonight. But first of all, I want to inform you that this is my 50th year in drawing. After I started in 1964 when my first comic book was published by a Penang publisher. I was still in the school then. And I had always been someone who liked to read cartoons and comics ever since I was a little kid. And I started drawing myself because of what I saw. And I was influenced by other people's drawings. So I would like to show you that in the beginning I was reading magazines like Movie News, which was published in Singapore in the early 60s, in the late 50s. I couldn't read English in 1961, I didn't understand English. But I saw in Movie News, the magazine was about movies and movie stars. You will have a cover with a film star, famous film star, and inside it's all about movies that are being shown and westerns and so on. And you could read. But there was at the end of the magazine a two-page column, two-page spread called Funny Bone. And you, the reader, could send entries. You send your drawings to Funny Bone. If they use your drawing, then you would be the winner of 2 free cinema tickets. This was in the early 60s. Of course, at that time I didn't know how to draw like those people, but I was already admiring the drawings drawn by people who I think also couldn't draw properly. They're just like us, So one of the first cartoons that I saw, I didn't even understand the words, but it was like this. This was the picture, a drawing. This entry made it to the Movie News. This guy was fishing, and there's a passerby. And the passerby, his mouth is open. That means he's talking, I mean, that's the way I learned at that time. Obviously he's the one talking. Because this guy, you know, cartoonists were very fond of doing all these signs in those days, baffle sign, because he's got leaves, weeds, you know. And the caption was this. And I didn't know English, okay? I was in Malay school, in the kampung school at that time. Ah, I see. Sorry for taking some time. Ah, I see, you're a vegetarian, because it's got leaves. You know, I didn't know what vegetarian was, but I knew what vegetable was. Because in English class in the Malay school, we learn, you know, fruits, vegetables, trees, plants. So I was laughing. I was laughing like nobody's business, because I could understand it. Ah, I see, you are a vegetarian. And I thought a vegetarian was someone who studies vegetables. So that's why I was laughing. And I knew this guy was doing the talking. And I told myself, this kind of thing, so easy to do. I can do it myself. But I just don't know how to send it to Singapore. I was in a place called Kota Baru near Batu Gajah in Perak. You know, it's a small kampung. And, but I told myself, one day I will draw and send it to them. Of course, I did. Another cartoon that I saw, then, at that time I was about 10 years old, okay, was this guy taking a shower, taking a bath, just like anybody else. Because I would have my bathroom in the kampung was a well, actually, and we'd have a wall surrounding the well. So you have your privacy, you can take your bath. In 1961, this was, there's nothing wrong with this picture. In 1961, everybody was living like this. At least the people I knew were, you know. And so, what made me laugh was this guy, he was taking a bath in the rain. Of course, there's no roof, you know, there's no roof for the bathroom. Even in Kuala Lumpur, in later years, we still had the same kind of bathroom. And it was a bit dangerous because there are some houses that were tall, you know, and the windows up there. So this one made me laugh because this guy who drew it actually made this bloke taking a bath, having an umbrella. So you know what it took to make me laugh in those days, eh? It was having an umbrella. You know? So I was laughing and I told myself, this is it. I can draw this in no time. You know? How can they give all these people rewards, whereas I myself, of course my time hadn't arrived yet, but I would be able to do it. I cannot sign here because this was somebody else's idea, and this was done by that guy, or whoever it was, for magazines, you know, like Majalah Film and Movie News. That's how we started in those days, and you know, we laugh at what I call stupid jokes. But we had those stupid years, you know. We enjoyed the stupid years because we were young and we had time to laugh at things like this. And then, of course, I started drawing myself when I found out how to, what to draw, what to use, a kind of dipping pen with a wooden holder, and the nib, and a brush, and India ink. Later we use Pelican ink. Later we even have this ink called magic ink. And I had already known how to use that when I was 13 years old. As you can see, I'm going to show you the first letter that I received when I was 13 years old in 1964 by Sinaran Brothers in Penang. And they say, we have received your comic, thank you very much. But first they said, dear sir, Tuan. You know, I was very embarrassed because I was still in school kid. We have received the comic. We are willing to buy it for the price of 25 ringgit. Hopefully we can receive a reply from you soon. Thank you. So I, of course, immediately ran to the post office and replied, oh yeah, yes, you may buy my book. And you can see the other letter that I'm going to show you. This is just, you are very lucky because I haven't shown this to Malaysians because when I show it to them, I want them to pay for it. They have to buy a special book which will include. So Cik Muhammad bin Khalid is me, and number 9 Jalan Melati, Sungai Rokam is what we call, where we moved to in 1963. My family moved there from the kampung because of the pool of the city. My father was working in Ipoh as a clerk. So, this letter said, regarding your comic, Tiga Sekawan, which is 3 friends, we hope you can, this time they call me Encik. I think they found out. I was not really a Tuan. Yeah. So, we hope you can go to and meet our manager at number 204 Brewster Ipoh, which was the branch of Sinaran Brothers, the company. And so I went there, I took a bus with my mother and my younger brother, who was 6 years old, Abdul Rahman, and the 3 of us went to this office and showed this letter, and we were given a check for 25 ringgit, cash check of Malayan Banking, and I walked to Malayan Banking at Brewster Road, which is now called Jalan Idris Shah. And at the bank, I remember it was a hot day, it was a sunny day, it was a happy day for me. At the bank, the jaga, security guard, a Sikh guy, halted us and said, "Oh, mana mau pergi? Where are you going?" "I'm going in to cash this check." "Siapa punya check?" "Saya." "Mana dapat?" "Ready to get it." "Oh, di Penang, mari." And I had to explain to the jaga, When inside, I had to explain to the office boy who stopped me, "What are you doing here?" And so on, because office boys in those days were very powerful. They could ask you questions, why did you get this check? And so I had to explain, there's a comic book coming and it's done by me, blah, blah, blah. And so these are the letters of Sinaran Brothers. I was a very proud young fellow, and of course my mother helped to keep all these letters. She passed away a couple of years ago. But this third letter said, that means I've been sending more comics, and they said, sorry, we can't pay you much more, but because we are still trying, we are still trying this cartoon thing among our readers. Before that, we didn't have much cartoon comics. It was only police stories, warrior stories, detectives, romance, but not cartoon. So we are willing to pay 40 ringgit for the next comic. I was of course very happy. I cycled immediately to the post office and replied, yeah, you may buy.
And they also promoted you to Tuan again, as in.
Now that I think the sale was quite good. That's why they call me Tuan again. But it was 1964. If you want to know what 1964 was like, the Beatles were singing A Hard Day's Night. I mean, many of you don't know, but the song remains today. my favorite from that album and that movie is not really Hard Day's Night. My favorite is called If I Fell. If I fell in love with you, would you promise to? I love that. I always played it when I was rich. I mean, I was rich because I made some money then. You play the jukebox, 10 cents. I would play the flip side of, I should have known better. It's called If I Fell, If I Fell. If you can find a Beatles tune called that, please listen. And you know why I love it. It's so gentle. Of course, I cannot sing it. If I sing it, you won't be able to go on. And so this is also 1964 from Shaw Brothers in Newport, Cohen Street, as one of the winners of the Pradan Mandela film. I was given one of the many complimentary tickets, just like the guy who drew this, to watch any of the movies that are shown in our theater halls in Perak and Bali. But you cannot go to the ones with a sign that says no release, And the tickets are not with me. I've got I gave to the cinema people. But it's stated there, please admit Mr. and Mrs. LAT. So I was 13, so I brought my father. And he of course loved it because we had the seats upstairs. Wow, second seat. Wow, we were like foreigners, in Ipoh. I think I saw some Dean Martin movie. My dad was very proud and he said, very good, you do some more. That's why he gave me more paper and pen. And so maybe another letter that is from Singapore, 1965. That's the following year. Now you see, the following year, I was no longer just drawing for single panel comics for magazine. I was already drawing a series. This series is from. This series says, I was to deliver more of the story. You should continue, and the payment was 50 ringgit. It went on for 6 months. This character called Tua Keladi, a dirty old man, and I don't know who I based it on. But it was a typical pyramid pyramid movie kind of thing. So that's why I look at it. 64, drawing for Honeybone. 65, drawing series. So I became more and more famous. People knew LAT, a cartoon fellow. I was already well known even at that age. So that's how I started drawing. It was so long ago, it's 50 years ago. And then, of course, I continued drawing for the newspapers. So I was a rich schoolboy. I was making about 120 ringgit a month, which was equivalent to, clerk's pay. And so I managed to buy motorcycles and so on. And I was already receiving letters from people, from fans. That's why when I started drawing for, when I wanted a job from the New Straits Times, from Berita Harian, which was under the roof of the Straits Times, I was not a stranger. I was known already. They knew me since I was a kid. So they gave me the job, but not as a cartoonist. It was a reporter. Because there was no vacancy for a cartoonist. We don't have cartoonists. We don't pay cartoonists salary. And artists, yeah, we know artists, layout artists, touch-up artists, but not a cartoonist. So I was a reporter, and they gave me, the lowest rank of journalism I was covering police stories, and I was made to do hospital rounds, police station rounds, fire station rounds, but I was at the right age, 19, 20 years old, and I could run here and there, and I would report what I found. And 4 years of crime reporting or police story reporting, whenever there's an ambulance speeding, you follow, run after it, chase after it, and then you find that the ambulance went to a maternity hospital because you thought it was a big case, And then you see fire engine, oh, that's fire engine, let's go. One bunch of you following the fire engines. We were on motorcycles and so on. Young reporters, we followed that fire engine. Apparently it was an aircon for fire. So it was no big deal. But sometimes you get cases at odd hours, 6 o'clock in the morning, fire, and 4 years of doing all that. My writing news, according to my boss, Samad Ismail, has not improved at all. He said, your drawing seems to be improved. Your drawings in the Britamingo seem to improve because I managed to overcome shyness, being from Ipoh to Kuala Lumpur. After 4 years, I overcame shyness, and I could talk to people properly, but I was not really interested in that job because I didn't like to meddle with people's business. House on fire, and you have to ask the people, what happened? What's your name? Can you imagine a lady howling, looking at her house on fire, and you trying to find out her age? She would say to me, "Where are you from?" I'm from the Straits Times. Well, what she says, we cannot work. But that's the life of a journalist. But there are ways of doing it. There are ways of doing it because else, we won't be able to do the job. My cartoons improved, and I was always stationed at the hospital because I pick up news from the hospital. I found out that the children who went for circumcision, the late boys who went for circumcision, they did it very quickly and very simple way. It was a simple, surgery, minor surgery, not like my days in the kampung. So I did a series of drawings, about 10 drawings, of how the kampung circumcision ceremony took place, the process, because I was involved with that kind of thing in 1960. So I drew about it and sent it to my favorite magazine, the Asia magazine, which was at the time based in the South China Morning Post in Hong Kong. And I sent it by mail, of course, and I got a reply. Very late, but I got the reply, and they were willing to use it, and they used it inside the Asia magazine. And that's why in 1974, 10 years after I did the Gaskawan, the New Straits Times offered me to draw for that newspaper. They said, you should draw things like this for us. Mr. Lee Siwi was the editor-in-chief, and he said, you draw this kind of thing for us. And I have been doing that ever since, from 1974 to 2014. Of course, in the early days, I was young and energetic. I could draw well, I could travel well, and the stories were very interesting to me. I like to interview people for this purpose, to get to know cultural aspects. And so it's been 40 years. It used to be 3 days a week, now it is only once a week. Because I've grown old and you know, I have to face facts. I cannot keep up with the current events. And today's audience, today's readers, they have a different way of looking at things. Not this way, you know. But I'm from this time, and I'm glad that I've managed to hang around for quite a long while, because without the support of those people who go after my books and so on, it will be, you know, I won't be doing this job, you know, because if you want to comment on current affairs in Malaysia these days, or even around the world, you know, as I grow older, I find that it's so difficult to comment, you know, because you can't laugh like those stupid years. Now you have to be sensitive. You are always, you know, what did you say? I'll take you to court. So that's sort of state.
I mean, growing up, I mean, the first time I actually was exposed to your stuff was when my mom bought me a copy of a lot of LAT. And that was, and my favorite cartoons in those volumes were the ones where you talk about your own life and your own travels. You know, there was a series of cartoons where you went to London, for example. And I think I remember vaguely there was time we went to Japan or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Japan. Yeah, I remember when you were asking your host, right, what is unagi? And it's a very, very long fish, like snake. And you decided not to eat it. Yeah. So what made you start doing these more biographical cartoons?
Yeah, well, those foreign travels, they were, you know, all this opportunity that came to me, the opportunity given by other people, you know, the invitations I got from the embassies of foreign countries invited me to their country, because they knew that if I go, I would be drawing what I see in their visit, you know. And so the first to invite me was, of course, were the Americans. In 1977, I went there, and Elvis was still alive, actually. Yeah, and I had always been a follower of American culture, especially music and movie business. Of course, I was a young man, still a bachelor, and I just fit into America and started drawing and sending them back from, you know, my trip, which was zigzagging across the United States. And I had very long hair, and you know, first month I was treated like a VIP, but I extended my stay because I had plenty of money, and so the second month they gave me an extension, so I stayed as a hippie. But many people thought that I was a local. They thought, you know, they asked me when I took a ride on the Greyhound, you know, like, let's say, I ended up my official visit in Phoenix, Arizona, and I took a Greyhound to Nashville, Tennessee, which took about 2 days. And new passengers were boarding and sat next to me, and they asked me, this area, around this area, what tribes live around this area? So I told them, you know, this area, there's a Navajo, there's a Pima, and so on. And when I was staying in Santa Fe, New Mexico, I like that place very much. People call me Chief. And then in Nashville, in Memphis, where I went to Elvis' house, Graceland, and I made friends with some people who say, where are you from? I said, Malaysia. Hey, that's in Alaska, right? So I had to tell them where Malaysia was. But these are all what I turned into cartoons because of the experience of meeting people. You know, you can get angry if people think you are from Alaska, but we don't want to get angry, do we? So we have to say Malaysia, is, where Vietnam is, where Singapore is. So we have to explain nicely. And because to many Americans, foreign land means Mexico or Canada. They don't know what the product. And so yes, I did all those drawings because of the experience that I had in various countries that I visited. And it was the opportunity that I got when because of my job as a cartoonist, and I love every moment of it. But some friends could tell whether I enjoyed my trip or not. Maybe to Japan, of course, I did enjoy it very much. Anything that you experience for the first time, you're going to really love it, But if you have been too familiar with a place, a certain place, maybe you lose, your sense of, your detection of the uniqueness of the place. So I think every place is worth visiting once, including if you haven't been to, I've been to Jucha and the old not many Malaysians dare to go there, but I met some friends there. I don't know whether they're still around.
So of course you're best known, ultimately internationally at least, for Kampung Boy. And I believe Kampung Boy wasn't a collection of stuff that you did, that was actually an original graphic novel. Yeah, so maybe you can just tell us what led you to creating Kampung Boy.
Yeah, the Kampung Boy was published in 1979. I first started work on it when I came back from the USA. Actually, I missed my kampung, and I was living in Bangsa, and then life in Bangsa, even then, was already very modern, and I just said, where are my old friends, my old relatives? And so I did from memory all the things that I experienced from the kampung. And the house where I was born in, the house that belonged to my father and mother, the house that was given to my father by his father, is that wooden house. If some of you have seen the book, is that wooden house on steel. It's got very tall pillars and it's high up. You could stand under the house, and it's beautiful. So I did all about growing up until the age of 10, when I had friends and I played games, with what the children were playing at that time. And so kampung life is a small community life, and kampung mind, the kampung heart, is just like what you experience or what you have when you have a small neighborhood or you have a small community in your neighborhood. It's that sort of thing. It's just that kampung is small, and it is usually always by a river. And when I did the book, I remember I told Mr. Lee Sui, he later became Tan Sri Lee Sui. I told Mr. Lee Sui, I got some drawings which I want to turn into a book. And what this book is especially for my readers, those people who've been buying all this Straits Time compilation. I have to do this book, I said, because I want to give it to my readers. And he said, he corrected my English. No, it's not that you have to do it, you want to do it. Oh, okay. Because he was a very strict fellow. The late Mr. Tan Sri Lee Sui never smile unless it's really necessary. And then whenever he called me, Mrs. Kue, his secretary, would come to my room and say, Mr. Lee wants to see you. Maybe something wrong, because I tried to draw Tun Razak, the Prime Minister, and he called me in, you want to go to jail? He's the Prime Minister. How can you draw him? So that was the beginning. But his heart softened when, when I managed to sneak in some drawings of not only Prime Minister, but even Mr. Lee himself in my cartoon. He didn't see him. He didn't see him until it was published on that day. And people pointed out to him, that's you in the race, I don't know, in the race course, one of the punters. And so he eventually, Mrs. Kueh would call me and I would go in and I would see him, but he's smiling, at the cartoon. And this was during Hussein Onn time. Hussein Onn, the Prime Minister. Hussein Onn was riding a camel. He was on his way back from the Middle East to Malaysia on a camel. And he said, slow down, because he's supposed to raise some salary of the public utility people, workers, when he reached Colombo. So he wanted to have a slow journey. Mr. Lee smiled. I saw him smiling, but when he saw me, he put back a straight face. And he said, this Hussein Onn, he looks like his dad. Yeah, both of them had noses like bananas, quite long. And so, well, I knew that he liked the drawing. So that was one of the first cartoon featuring Prime Minister in the Straits Times. Before that, I sneaked into Malay Mail under the same roof, where I managed to convince the editor of Malay Mail, S.H. Tan, who worked at 4 o'clock in the morning because he's what we call afternoon paper. Yeah. So I said, you use this, I told him rather, you use this, people will like it. And he did. Of course, people phone in and say, we should have more. Same thing happened to Samad Ismail and Lee Sui. People phone in and say, we should have more, local yogurt. And so that's how, it went on.
So did you ever have comics that you drew that the Straits Times positively refused to publish? I know, for example, my friend Colin Goh, who you also know, right, has had several of the strips been quietly edited to get rid of more controversial stuff. Yeah. Did that ever happen to you as well?
Yes, there had been a rejection because, let's say, I think if it involved religion, because my drawings, there's no alteration. Yeah. You either use it or you reject it. And they have rejected. It's in the contract. So they could reject. And I'm glad that they actually pay attention to my work. There have been some Jewish concerned religion, Muslim, Christianity or Hinduism. I use it as background, but they wanted to play safe by not presenting like a cartoon, And cartoon, dangerous cartoon involving lawyers. Lawyers are also, we don't really want to, we're not really very friendly with lawyers, but at the same time, we don't want them to stir up, the situation. And there have been rejections regarding names of people. If it's funny, if there's a funny name, funny Japanese name, funny English name, no, we cannot have that sort of thing. I learned that long ago. I also learned that when I did some work for SIA, you don't read it because it's for the cabin crew. It's a guide for the SIA cabin crew and the do's and don'ts, when you handle passengers. And I was meant to do the illustrations, so I learned myself a lot, how to handle people by doing this. So I'm glad I did it in 1980, in the early 1980s, but they never gave me a copy. I only keep the original, copies of the drawings, but I don't have the original book. They never gave me a book. I would like to ask them to read because they are still publishing it for use of the cabin crew. So in a way, when I do my job, I also learn a lot. I do some part-time work for Petronas. I would end up, doing illustrations to remind workers about health, safety, and environment. And I would end up at Pasir Gudang. I would end up inside the belly of a huge ship. How they clean the ship and so how they use this water jet, and so on. And I would wear all this protective, uniform myself. And I learned many things, and so I went home and advised my wife, on safety. I learned that, you should be wearing, helmet and boots, and you do your cooking. Because her cooking is usually dangerous. The things that she does.
Do you still have copies of the models that you rejected?
I think I have, there are many, I have 2,000 drawings, more than 2,000 drawings.
Hopefully one day we'll get to see them.
Yeah, but they're not really that good. That's the reason for, So, I usually, I learn to censor myself by drawing things that will be accepted. But let's face it, the drawings that I did in the 70s and the early 80s were really, to me, they were good drawings because I had the energy and I managed to meet people and learn from people. I was one day in a chapati shop near Wismayakin in Malay Street, Kuala Lumpur, and I was having chapati, and I saw on the wall was a picture of a groom and bride, a Sikh groom and bride. And so it was the guy who owned the chapati shop. So I said to him, that's you on your wedding day. I would like to do, I'm from the newspaper, you see, I would like to do a story on a Sikh wedding. Oh, what sort of story you want to do? I finished the chapati, and then I said, I want to do a funny story, about a Sikh wedding. And he said, no, nothing funny. Our wedding, there's nothing funny. No, I don't mean that. I just want to do the process of the wedding in a drawing form, in a cartoon form. So that, because if I write about it, let's say half a page of words, nobody wants to read it in a newspaper about a Sikh wedding, Malay wedding or Chinese wedding. But if we draw pictures, then people can follow what happens in the beginning and what happens afterwards, how is the process. Then he got tired of listening to my talk. He said, this Saturday, you go to the Kampung Pandan temple. There's wedding. You just go. But I don't have invitation. No need invitation. You just put cloth on your head, handkerchief on your head. Nobody will chase you. So I took the bus. I think it was a Tongfong bus right from downtown Kuala Lumpur. I went to Kampung Pandan. I remember waiting a long time in the bus. There was no driver. In those days you had to go. You can go. You read the label. It says Kampung Pandan. Then you go up the bus and wait. The driver, you never know who the driver will be, and you are the only passenger. And then, but nobody was there to ask me, where are you going? I would say, I'm going to a Sikh temple. But I ended up in Kampung Pandan and I went for that wedding. Nobody chased me away. As a matter of fact, I helped myself with the food because we had chapati there, of course. And then the gravy, the dal being given to us in this huge pail, and this man who was putting the dal on our plate said, eat, plenty more. So the wedding went on, and I saw, but I made friends with a young fellow who explained to me what was going on. There was a holy book, and the priest was reading it, reciting it, and then there's a groom, there's a bride, and I saw from far away, from outside the temple. And these all were jotted down, and I sketched, and I did the finished drawing back at my bachelor apartment. And I was staying with a group of bachelors who didn't really fancy my drawing, but they were supportive, And so the series came out, and it was a hit. Because people say, it's very true. I met six people, and they say, it's so true. How did you know? How did you get it? I say, I went to the temple, but I have to make a story. How I meet girl. In this case, it was arranged marriage, because like the traditional Malay wedding also, it's usually arranged by parents those days. Nowadays, none of my children is married. I told them, when I was young, my editor told me to get married, and I got married because I listened to older people. Now it's a subject that they don't want to talk about. Everybody seems to be so busy. I said, to me, what? My son is doing some stage production. I never laugh at the jokes that he does. I said, you don't have to be like me. Do some other thing. But it's a family affair. One day you will know.
Yeah. So after Kampung Boy, of course, came Town Boy, and I've been waiting like 30 years for City Boys. Is that ever going to happen?
It's too late. I'm too tired. But Town Boy was about friendship between me and my friend during school days. But actually, it was a reflection of what happened in 1970, 71, 72. Because my best friend was a guy who lived in BJ, whose father didn't like to see this Malay. I could detect, when I came to the house, me with long hair and to play guitar with his son, he would say, why do you let this Malay fellow come into our room, our small house and so on. But he was my best friend, actually. We played music together, and until we found girlfriends together, and we helped each other. I got that idea to do a friendship, but at a younger age. So I made schoolboy characters from primary to secondary, which was also true, because if you look at the book Town Boy, those things are true. Because there's nothing bizarre, there's nothing spectacular, but it's just ordinary kids. And so I would use it just to make people feel good. I would like people also to feel safe. I'm glad that my children also became somewhat like me when it comes to friendship. They have many friends, and from various backgrounds. And our house, when they were younger, our house was full of people, of various racial groups. And then I said to myself, they just like me. I'm very glad. So that book also will go on, I guess, because it is about life. But there are books, compilations, that are not suitable because it was too current. Too current. Even myself, I've forgotten what these cartoons are about. Now I make sure that the book Town Boy, Kampung Boy, Today will still continue to be published.
And of course, eventually Kampung Boy was actually animated. Yeah. So I mean, how was that like? I mean, how much input did you have in the process?
Yeah. Eventually, in the 90s, I was offered to do the animation by, it wasn't called Astro then, it was called Miasa, Malaysian East Asian Satellite. So he later became Astro. And we did it in Los Angeles. As a matter of fact, we did it in Hollywood. You know, I went there. We did 26 episodes of this character, Kampung Boy, his family, his fictitious family, Kampung Boy, and his village. Stories that could be understood by the audience worldwide. So it was done in America, and I had to go there almost like every 1.5 months in 1993, 94, 95. It was tedious, and I knew one day I would not be able to do this, and I could do it then. But animation is total teamwork, you know, it's not one man. I'm the creator, and the contract says I'm the creator, like God, you know. So I created the Kampung Boy and his family, and the rest, stories and so on, will be done by everyone with my help also, you know. So we have story writers, story editors, we have animation storyboard people, we also have the animation directors, voice directors. It's hundreds of people involved, you know. And I had to go to LA every 1.5 months. And I got, you know, it was very tiring work, being in a foreign place. Los Angeles is nice, but you know, I also miss my family, my home. I ended up watching movies late at night at the Sunset Boulevard. You know, they have Cineplex, and I would end up going back to my hotel at around midnight. You know, I would take a cab, and I wore a jacket, and I got back into the back of the cab, and I said, Summit Hotel, Rodeo Drive. So the driver looked at the rearview mirror. You're on night shift? Because obviously I was a security guard. Yeah. So by then I knew how to handle America. You better accept, you know, all those facts, you know. But many years of work, mostly in Kuala Lumpur, voice recording and so on. It was a good experience. But it's something like this. If I have a piece of paper and I draw what I want, I know the finished product is totally mine and the way I want it. But you get involved in animation with 200 animators and artists and so on, it will end up something else. You know, it's not like the way you think, because it's totally a big teamwork, and I did that, and I accepted that fact.
Well, we're nearing the end of time, so maybe it's just a wrap up. Or what are you doing lately? I mean, do you have any projects that you want to like advertise?
Oh yeah. Actually, I've been doing nothing. Just coming to ask people to listen to my stories. But I asked the Perak state government, you know, give me a piece of land so that I can build a house that is a replica of the Kampung Boy house, the one that I was born in. Because my house, that house, my father sold it in 1968 to relatives who later demolished it because they took the wood to another town. And the land was sold. I bought back the land, but by now there's only a handful of people. So give me a piece of land somewhere near Batu Gajah, and I will turn it into you know, a little kampung with my house and a little gallery next door, very little. So because we don't have to go in and look at drawings, but we can watch some videos, you know. And then it's very near the Batu Gajah railway station. It is a walking distance, because you from the railway station you can see the location, and the house will be coming up later this year and will be completed, I think, early next year. And from Singapore, you can take the train, you can go straight to Batu Gajah, just walk, get down from the train and walk to this Rumah Kampung Boy, or Rumah LAT. And then, if God willing, if I'm still around, healthy, God give me health, I'll be waiting for you. And I will be taking you around, very proudly showing you around. That house is meant for everybody. It's not like you go past a kampung somewhere on your way to Greek or Lengkong, you'll see some beautiful houses, beautiful kampung houses. But can you go in? Can't. It's very rude to go and say, oh, you got very nice house, can you take picture? But this house, it's original, it's made of very good chengal, and it's the Malaysian Ministry of Tourism has already approved certain amount of money for it. I think they are behind my back, they say, oh, that guy gets old, before anything happens, we might as well, please him, not like Ramli, he's still around, might as well, so they approve some money. So when it comes out, I will let you, there will be announcement, you all will be welcome, to that house. It's called Rumah LAT or Rumah Kampung Boy. We will decide, what to call it. Yeah, that's it. If there's any questions, please ask Jenny.
Yep.
Just now you mentioned that you don't do alterations to your cartoons. Either reject or accept. Why is that? So is that your personal policy?
Because if we alter, then we will lose the actual story. So we might as well don't use at all. And that is also not only the company policy but also my policy. It's better you either you take it or you leave it. Anyway, those that got rejected, they are really not good. Not really good cartoons. I would say when I moved back to Ipoh 17 years ago, today I look at the drawings drawn from the last 17 years. It's the work of somebody who is tired. So I'm embarrassed to compare it with the ones that I did earlier. But you have to face it, right? You take this, just like a barber, barber reach a certain age, old age, the hand will be shaking. Can you make it your customer also? So I reached that stage. The customer, the sales time, they are very polite. They say, please drop for us once a week. If you go to London, you can use our house. So that's one of the reasons why I'm still drawing.
Yeah. Yes, the gentleman in the wheelchair.
Hi, Dr. Lat, there's two questions. Okay. One is like the NC Education Day about a book that would be like more like a city boy book. I think you've already done that in your graphic novel, Mat Song, which I'm actually quite keen to hear about your thoughts about how you came to create that book, which I think was among your works the most soul-searching ones. And the second question is that I think in Singapore, at the Mount Fort Canning Hill, there is a small series of murals done by yourself, which I don't think have been appeared in any of your publications. About Sejarah Melayu, Sang Nila Utama, kind of stories. So it's like, can you tell about how that came about?
Wow, you know so much, Mat Song was done actually for the Malay audience, for the Malay readers, because in those days, I went back to Kampung, everybody knew I was famous, Lat, Datuk Lat, but they didn't know my work, so I did that in Malay so that I could reach out to them. But then we got complaints from readers saying it should be in English too, and so we translated it to English. It's about young people in the city, and I do remember myself. But I didn't go through that sort of story. It started, the guy received a letter from his dad asking him to get married. That didn't happen to me, because when I got married, my dad was already dead, a couple of years later. So it was a fictitious story, but it's a story that I like to do, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because I'm doing another maksum, but not a continuation. Goes back earlier, a little bit earlier, 2-3 years earlier. So I have that coming up. And what you saw on the hill, what's the name of the hill? Fort Canning. I did that was a series of drawings about ancient Singapore with the guidance of the museum, the National Museum of Singapore. And I did it for them, a series of drawings about ancient Singapore that was displayed in the museum I think in the 80s. Yeah, I had a good time. Frequently came here. Is it Hill Street?
Yeah.
Hill
Street is a bit further up.
That's the office.
Oh, yeah. That's right, yeah.
That's the office. And I went there and I worked with many people, but one of them, many local people, but one of them is John Mixick, who's, John Mixick was, I forgot where he's from. Is he from the US? Yeah, because every time he went back to US, I told him, can you get me something? Always a comic, for me. Usually comics, they are difficult to pass by custom. Robert Crumb.
Oh, yeah.
Robert Crumb. He said, Robert Crumb. But he did manage to bring some for me, The only, probably what didn't make me very happy was the rate they were paying, government rate, for my drawing. I asked them for more. I came all the way from Colombo. I'm not doing well at this business. John just laughed. He said, yeah, we got paid the same way. So those drawings eventually ended up probably where you saw them. And one day maybe I'll go and pay a visit if I can climb it. That hill. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Yes.
You mentioned about stupid years but I think none of your cartoons are actually very stupid, because it portrays a lot of social moralism as well as reality. I remember one that you actually draw talking about tolong pakai topik leda, and then the last word was otak.
Oh, yes.
So use your brains. Is there any kind of political frustration that actually inspired you to draw certain cartoons, which were then rejected to be published?
Yeah, I remember that tolong pakai topik leda, tolong pakai at the same time tolong pakai otak, because the road traffic situation in Malaysia is such that we need to remind people to use the brain. Yes, it is a reminder, but I must tell you that cartoon, the one you mentioned, was a typical day where I had no idea. So when you have no idea, you just think, what to draw. What to remind people, use your brain. Actually, that's so easy to do. But in fact, it's great because you remember it, and I think some other people also rang me up. I remember people ringing me up. So sometimes the things you plan for a long time, when it appears, nobody notices. But you made something in 5 minutes, people say, wow, that's very good. Why did you get such ideas? Actually, it was so simple. But thank you for remembering me.
Thanks for the interesting talk. I was just wondering if when you have breakfast in the morning and you're reading your newspapers,
do you still flip through the comic section, or do you just read the news and try not to remind yourself of it?
Yeah. That you should ask my wife actually. Because she make my breakfast quite late. In the morning I don't look at my own newspaper. I mean, News Straits Times. The news I watch on TV the night before. You know, all the, I watch at midnight, TV Tiga or TV Tiga or even the BBC. You know, it's good enough. If there was any reason why I would be looking at my own drawing, it would be because the quality of the reproduction sometimes was not good. At one time they had that experience when they changed the machinery, you know, in the printing section. Those giant printing machine, they changed it from, you know, one time we had this thing called offset, and then we had newer things. And when that happened, sometimes the drawings badly reproduced. And I would get mad, and I would go to Kuala Lumpur and told them, you know, what kind of, they say it's a scanning thing. Scanning. Well, we're supposed to be sophisticated now, you're using computers and so on. I told them the same thing. If it's no good, don't use it. Wait for when you can reproduce better. You know, but you didn't get through their head, because these people, just like the public, you know, just like everyone, they keep on changing. You know, they say, well, even we cannot reproduce a good picture of Miss Universe. Yeah, but that's Miss Universe. This is me. Universe will be, when she's old, you know, she won't be drawing. I'm still drawing. You know. So. We do have that problem, but when I pay attention to, you know, my drawing, it is badly reproduced. Thank you. Yes. Two people, the last one is, yeah.
When I first read Kampung Boy Cowboy and Lots of Blood in my school days, I was very shocked, because as a Singaporean growing up, I don't see cartoons portraying my life. When I opened up the Straits Times when I was young, there was no political cartoons, there was no cartoons drawing of our leaders and our Singaporean life. So what is the difference between the Malaysian culture and the Singapore culture that allow cartoonists like you to work in the mainstream newspaper? Whereas for us, I think I remember Lee Kuan Yew once said that he does not allow anybody to make fun of him and his party. So is there a difference between the Malaysian political system and Singapore?
I don't think there's much difference, because I came around in the 80s. The peak of my career was in the early 80s. That's when the Prime Minister Tun Mahathir came to office. So during his time, he made many changes, and he introduced many new things that we considered as odd. And we had to look east, you know, we had to exercise in the morning before we start work in the office, you know. So we were baffled, but that would make good subject for my cartoons. And so I consider that as you know, it's the same with the new leader. And we were never bothered by it, you know. I drew the Prime Minister Tun Mahathir so many situations that made him look really foolish. But he was not scared, because he's not. And with me, he's very stern, you know. But behind me, he always, I think he liked my work. And then came Abdullah Badawi. I also wanted to draw him, but his wife died. And we knew his wife. I mean, me and my wife knew the wife personally. We knew him personally. I mean, he knew me. I mean, he saw me in in Selangor Club and so on. So I didn't want to draw him because of this sad situation. So I said to myself, no more, don't draw. Anyway, his time was a dull time. He was a dull, very dull. I mean, not only he fell asleep, everybody. But, I mean, I'm telling you that as a friend, as his friend also. Because just like me, as the years go by, I feel very tired. It's not like the old LAT, the old LAT are very exciting, always laughing, but the present day LAT is, quite dull, and he seems to be following rules and so on. So I think that is the same everywhere. The same. So I won't look at Malaysia, Singapore as anything different. I was invited to draw here for the newspaper and so on. What's that program you have where you wanted to encourage marriage and you arrange all this dating? Yeah, so I was calling, all the way from Kuala Lumpur to help with this. But I would accept it because I think the objective is good. It's love. And in cartoon, I must tell you, there's a lot of love. Love. L-O-V-E. Love. You actually love. You love your work. You love people. You have to love people. If you don't love people, then you don't know what to tell them. And then they cannot learn from them if you do not love them. And people are all the same. If you are religious, the more you love people, there's no such thing as people who are religious and they destroy people. There's no such thing. Not in my religion. If it's been hijacked, then don't look at me, please. But love. The higher up you are, the higher post you hold as a religious leader, the more you love people. Because you are afraid of God. So they rejected my application to become Chief Mufti of Perak. Because they saw me as a Selangor Club, with all these Chinese and Indians, drinking. I don't know what. They don't look like Malta. Why do Malta? I went to this forum in Capitol Hill in 2005. I was introduced as a practicing Muslim. So I better because Americans told me I'm a practicing Muslim. Yes.
Maybe one last one.
My brother was so inspired by you that in the 80s he drew comic strips in the Berita Harian, which is the Malay papers. And I'm so glad as a little girl, he actually bought me your cartoon. And I grew up feeling very inspired. My question today is very simple. It's actually on one of your cartoons on the Malaysia Airlines, where the pilots were holding a newspaper, reading the stock markets. So is that drawn before the MH370 or after? Thank you.
It wasn't my cartoon.
It's it's written as LAT.
Oh, can I have a look?
Sure.
This is the social media for you. Yeah, but this is an old cartoon. It's very old. This is very old and it's typical, just like what you mentioned, the day, no idea. Thank you for bringing that up, but it is old. On the MH370, there's nothing really, not a drop for me. I sympathize with families, and it's not really a subject to But if you look at the internet, you have many cartoons from foreign lands. But I I won't touch it. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't at all, because if we have things to complain about, we can draw about it. But I wouldn't touch it if it's concerning people in distress. Thank you very much.